Afternoon. It's Monday the 16th of September. It's 2:30 and we are in Killyleagh. And we're standing outside the Sir Hans Sloane Centre. And Hans Sloane, remarkably, and there's Killyleagh Castle up at the end of the street. I mean, this is a magical place. And that's the different arms, I think dating back to 1802, and we have just had a meal in there, just up in here. And Killyleagh Castle is, I think the people living in there, I think they're related to the Hamiltons who first came over here and established the castle way back in the 12th century, and it's the only castle in Ireland, that Norman castle in Ireland, I believe, that is still inhabited. But this is the Sir Hans Sloane Centre across the road here, and it tells the story of Hans Sloane, who was born in the town, and it's now an educational centre for everything to do with Hans Sloane, obviously, but more so to do with the, well, maybe not more so, maybe not more so, but to do with the village itself as well. There's the frontage. And Hans Sloane, as we'll find out, was a founder of the British Museum, and he, I believe, discovered and created drinking chocolate, and then possibly even chocolate, but we'll find out inside. And I'm just going to get rid of myself, and there's all sorts in here. Oh, it's like a visitor. It is a visitor centre, and it tells you everything about Killyleagh.
Yes, indeed.
So I've got all sorts of bits and pieces. It's quite a large exhibition, museum, or whatever you want to call it. It does an awful lot more than Hans Sloane, but this is Hans Sloane, 1660 to 1753, and he was born here. Back Street, Killyleagh, now called Frederick Street. Youngest of 7 sons. Sadly, 4 of his brothers died before he was even born. He was brought up in a fine two-storied story house not far from the castle, and I don't believe that house is here today. 1670, 10-year-old boy, he started collecting flora and fauna from along the shoreline of Killyleagh and further inland, and it was very important to him to name and catalogue his finds, and that's what started him off on the whole collecting business. 1676, he became ill with TB and spent the next couple of years housebound. Friends brought him items, and he collected his books from the castle and read them. In this way, he put his curiosity and time of confinement to good use, became an able student. 79 to 80, 19-year-old Hans left for London and the bright lights, and first studied chemistry, botany, and had academic success. Headed to Paris, as you do. Travelled to the University of the province of Orange in 1683. Travelled to Jamaica, as you do again back in the day, as a personal physician to the new governor, Duke of Albemarle. It's while in Jamaica that he seized a great opportunity to collect extensively plants and curios with the help of the indigenous peoples. He returned from Jamaica with his collections, one of which, now this is interesting, was cocoa or cocoa. He used this as a medical aid, and with the recipe adapted drinking chocolate, it was born, and this is 1689. Cadbury bought the recipe, good old Cadbury, which they used for many years. Back in London, Hans set up his own medical practice, helping both rich and poor. His good reputation as a caring and competent doctor spread throughout London. So Cadbury's drinking chocolate was born out of the explorations and collections of Hans Sloane. 1695 he married widow Elizabeth Rose, who inherited her wealth from her husband's sugar plantations. Elizabeth had 4 daughters from her first marriage and bore Hans 3 daughters. My goodness. Sadly, one boy and one of the girls died in childhood. Such was Hans' reputation amidst high society in London that he became the physician to Queen Anne. He must have been a remarkable guy. Queen Anne died in the year 1712, and Hans kept her alive long enough to sign a document to ensure the Hanoverian succession. Hans Sloane would continue as royal physician to King George the First and Second. And here's more to his bow here. 1719, recognised as a prominent physician and collector of scientific interests, Hans Sloane was elected president of the Royal College of Physicians and fellow of the Royal Society. You've got to remember that this guy came from little lowly Killyleagh in Ulster, as it was then known. 1727 he became president of the Royal Society, following on Sir Isaac Newton, no less. My goodness. Sir Hans introduced inoculation and vaccination to the public, encouraged by his treatments of the royal princesses and princesses. So my goodness, there's so many strings to this man's bow. 1741 moved to the manor house at Chelsea, which he loved, and it was beside Chelsea Physic Garden. It was with some difficulty that his 71,000 item collections were moved here. His statue was erected in Chelsea Physic Garden in more recent years. There's a replica of that statue here in Killyleagh in Hans Sloane Square, just off Shore Street. And we know the term Sloane Street Rangers, and of course these are the young debutants and all the rest of it, and young studs of London, and they did hang about in round Sloane Square, so they were known as the Sloane Rangers. 1740s, in this decade, he became concerned as to what would happen to his collections after his death, and he asked the king and the government of the day to promise that they would be properly kept in a museum, and of course this gives rise to the birth of the first British Museum. So the first British Museum has Hans Sloane to thank. He died at the age of 92 and was buried in the graveyard at Chelsea Old Parish Church in London. First British Museum, 1759, was opened in Montague House, close to Hans Sloane's London home in Bloomsbury Place. Over the following years, Sir Hans Sloane's collections were shared out to start the Natural History Museum and the British Library. So this was some guy, Sir Hans Sloane. We have a bigger educational board all about Sir Hans Sloane. President of the Royal Society, President of the Royal College of Physicians, Royal Physician. Hans Sloane's collections created the British Museum, British Library, Natural History Museum. His collections over 71,000 natural and handmade items include 32,000 coins and medals, 50,000 books, and there's so much here that you can read this down for yourself. Amazing man. Came from Hole in the Hedge, Killyleagh. blink twice and you'll miss it. Well, don't miss it. Come and check it out for yourself. This is, there's so much to be seen here and learnt about Hans Sloane and much, much more, I might add. So this is the visitor centre, and I'll just do a quick sweep round. And it's a wonderful stopping off place if you want to learn about the flora and fauna, history and art of this area. There's a bell over here. What's that about?
That is the Strigly bell, the clock.
Is that the Strigly clock bell?
Yes, the Strigly clock. Go and see if you can move it.
Oh, I'll not try and move. I had a heart attack in February. I wouldn't try and move this bell. Boy, so this is the Strigly bell. And that would have rung for the workers to come in and leave in the evening.
That's right.
At the mill.
Well, it was a tannery down there.
Boy, so my goodness gracious. And that's dated 1872. Wow, all sorts of hidden gems to be found here in Killyleagh. And these are local painters have contributed as well. There's some fine pieces there. And there's the Hans Sloane statue. Hans Sloane Square, Killyleagh. If you want to buy that piece, it's £180. My goodness gracious. And even the very painting is, the ceiling is painted. And there's Killyleagh Castle in winter time. Boy, so brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. That there, is that in existence?
That's what's called the Town Rock.
The Town Rock?
Yes.
But it's nothing to do with music.
That's nothing to do with music, it's to keep ships away from the rocks.
So it was a sort of
it's been there for a very long time.
a mini lighthouse without a light?
Sort of.
The
Used to keep the ships away from the rocks. Yeah.
Right.
But it's still there.
And it's still there down on the
It
shoreline.
is indeed.
Why have I never seen that?
You weren't looking for it.
Because I was down there. I didn't see that.
Well, go down again and have a look.
Oh, we will.
It's there. Not going anywhere.
Great stuff. And next door is just a wee
That's a little shop.
shop.
Local
Local items.
You've seen the garden outside?
Yes, I must go and see the garden, but I'll just sweep round in here. There's a wee shop going on in here of local associated gifts that you might want to buy. And then out the back is this. Going through this passageway, and this tells you a wee bit about Strigly. There's all sorts of goodies to see here.
Yes.
And this is telling you about Strigly's history.
Here today. I suppose he just pops in when it fits him, does it?
And the influence of Jewish brothers, but they transformed Strigly Mill.
We were at Hillsborough Gardens recently.
And then we've got the John Martin Monument, because he ran the mill and oversaw the village and the whole community. And in gratitude, the local people erected the clock tower, and we've just seen the bell from the clock tower. And there's the Martin Monument in 1871, designed by Belfast architect Timothy Heavey, in Victorian Gothic style. And I have videoed that. I didn't know it was known as the Martin Monument, so I must go back and amend my notes. So here it is in situ back in the day.
We only exported half
And there's the mill
last year.
chimney. My goodness gracious. This is long before Strigly was refurbished and reorganised, and all the old mill houses were taken down and new ones were put in place. So there's a wonderful garden out through here
I know.
in this visitor centre.
Yeah.
But it's definitely global. Because my parents would never have lived down there, and they would never have grown tomatoes outside.
Yeah.
Just really
This is lovely.
something they never
Impossible.
considered.
Probably
Yes.
impossible.
And look what's growing in the corner, a pineapple. My goodness. This is trying to replicate a physic garden, well, in some ways. Ancient Celtic or Celtic tree calendar. So this is wonderful.
What's that?
So this is the Hans Sloane Centre. Come down and see it for yourself. They're a charity and they rely on voluntary donations. This is a place of wonders, and this is the view out the back. So there you go. There's a bit of street art going on in here too. There's all sorts of plants and all the rest of it. A wee bit of a sanctuary, would you believe? So, check it out, folks. We're just out of the visitor centre there and looking down this 21B entry, and we've got a curlew. This is marvellous. There's a wee entry, and there's brent geese flying overhead, and there's a curlew there, and maybe a raven, and there's a shark. This is marvellous. Love this. And we've got Mr. Heron and the Strangford Monument. I think this is the Strangford Monument. The Martin Monument. This is delightful. My goodness. We're in search of the Hans Sloane statue, and we believe that it's down across the road here. And this is us approaching Hans Sloane Square, commemorating Hans Sloane, Sir Hans Sloane, who was born in Killyleagh. And there he is. (1660 to 1753). Unveiled by the Duke of York, Baron of Killyleagh. I had from my youth been very much pleased with the study of plants and other parts of nature which were to be found in the fields, in the gardens of these parts. So the flora and fauna of Killyleagh inspired this man to found a major collection which went on to be the Natural History Museum and the British Museum. Sir Hans Sloane, President of the Royal Society, President of the Royal College of Physicians, Royal Physician, Collector, Scientist, Antiquary, Philanthropist. His collection formed the basis for the British Museum. He promoted the medicinal use of quinine, chocolate and vaccination. This copy of the statuette Rise Brack, erected in the Chelsea Physic Garden in 1712, was placed here by the people of Killyleagh to mark the millennium and the regeneration of the harbour area 2002. Well done, Sir Hans Sloane.